today we're looking at the Seven of Swords, and this is a card of deception, betrayal, trickery, sneakiness, and really like just trying to get away with something and not be caught. So kind of doing things in a sneaky kind of way. So now we'll look at the symbolism on this card. So looking at the symbolism on this card, starting here with the central figure, who is shown sneaking away from a camp, carrying 5 swords and leaving behind 2. This represents strategy and deceit, and indicates that the person is acting independently and using their wits to navigate a situation. So the figure can symbolise someone trying to outmaneuver others or avoid confrontation. The 5 swords being carried represent intellect, plans and strategic thinking, while the 2 left behind may indicate unfinished business or remnants of a situation left unresolved. So this can signify taking what is necessary for the future while leaving some aspects of the past behind. It may also suggest that not everything can be taken with you, and some things must be left behind, whether by choice or necessity. In the background you can see a campsite with the tents, and they suggest that the figure is taking something from a group or a situation, indicating actions done in secrecy or without the full knowledge of others. The imagery highlights themes of deception, and it might express the idea of sneaking away with valuable information, possibly without permission. His facial expression here, and the way that he is positioned, so his kind of body language shows him in a sneaky or cautious stance, and it reinforces the themes of sneakiness and deception. His facial expression shows one of determination and thinking strategically as to his plan, what he needs to do, and how he needs to take the swords away from here. The yellow background on this card serves to enhance the card's themes of intellect, strategy and caution. It suggests that the figure's actions are driven by mental processes and strategic thinking, and it underscores the need for caution and alertness. At the same time, it hints at a potential for optimism and positive outcomes, suggesting that the figure's actions, while probably deceitful, may be aimed at achieving a better situation or escaping from difficulties. 7 of Swords and how it might show up in a tarot reading. So when this card shows up in a reading, it can indicate that you are being secretive, you may be being sneaky, there could be some kind of deception going on, and it can often mean that you may be trying to get away with something. If it's not you yourself, then somebody around you has done something wrong, and they're being sly about it, and they're being sneaky, and they're trying to get away with it. So instead of dealing with something and being honest about where you might have done something wrong, or trying to sort it out in the right way, this card can indicate that you're avoiding the conflict or the trying to sort it out, and so in order to do that, you sneak about and you may try and get away with it. By avoiding this conflict, which is understandable because nobody wants conflict, what this card will often remind us though is that when we get found out, that can actually then upset another person even more if we'd have just been honest and said, like, we've done this, we messed up, you know, we shouldn't have done this. And so it is a reminder that we actually could be making more trouble for ourselves and bringing more conflict upon ourselves with another person by not being honest. So as well, in a love reading, it can talk about secrets between the two people, It can indicate sneaking around, as we've already mentioned. So because of that, it can sometimes show up to symbolise that somebody is having an affair and is not being faithful. It can also show up in relationships to indicate that there may be feelings within the relationship around suspicion. So either the person that's been read for is maybe suspicious of their partner, or maybe the person's partner has got suspicious feelings around them or about them and what they might be up to. In finances and business, it can indicate business deals that should be avoided. So not business deals that should not be trusted. It can indicate scams. It can indicate fraud. It can also, though, in business and finances, talk about working strategically. It can also show, this is also a card of independence, and it can talk about how this card might come up to encourage us to maybe go it alone, that maybe something that you're trying to do or something you're trying to achieve, you're going to be better off doing that alone. So it can talk, it's not always necessarily negative. It might just be pointing out that for a particular project you're better off by yourself in doing this. In friendship, this card can show up to talk about gossip, and it can also show up to indicate jealousy within a friendship. It is a card of dishonesty, so it can also speak of how people talking behind your back, or not being completely honest with you, or not being as loyal to you as maybe you might think they are. Obviously this can go both ways, so you may be the person that's been deceptive, or you may be the victim in this, and that will depend on the reading, the overall energy of the reading, the cards around it, and what your intuition tells you when you're doing the reading, and sometimes where the card might land within a spread if using one. This card can also talk about theft, and it can talk about using deception to get the upper hand. It also comes in as a reminder to us that you are always at risk of being caught. So although this card can talk about the negative actions, it can also come in to say, you know, there is that possibility of being caught. The man in the card, he's wearing quite like vibrant clothing, like with the red hat and the red boots. He's not exactly well hidden. He's taken the swords, but it's in daylight as well. So it can kind of speak of that, although you might think you're getting away with something, chances are you possibly are going to get caught out. In regards to strategy, it can come up sometimes to actually indicate that we do need to be strategical in what we're doing in order to get to where we want, and it can mean sometimes that the card can be telling us that we do actually need to put ourselves first. It can definitely talk about avoiding things that are maybe difficult for you to cope with or deal with or feel your way through. So it can talk about facing a problem rather than avoiding it. A kind of example might be something like in a relationship, you might have been with somebody for a very long time. You may actually still really love the person, but you're not in love with them. And sometimes this card can indicate things like you don't want to hurt the feelings of the person, so you might do something like deliberately create arguments or problems within the relationship, hoping that they will leave you. And that sounds a bit far-fetched, but that's like a kind of example as to how I have actually seen this card come up. And I do think it's best to actually sometimes give real life examples rather than just think of ones. but I've seen it come up for that reason quite a couple of times, to be honest. And I've said that, you know, the card's indicating that you're not in love with the person anymore, but you could be causing trouble within the relationship, actually hoping that they will leave you so that you don't have to hurt their feelings. And it has been spot on, and it has meant that for them. So it's like sneaking around. It's not facing something head on, or dealing with something in the right way. It can also talk about our own state of mind, our own mindset, and the way that we talk to ourselves, the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. It can be the lies, the self-deception, the lies that we tell ourselves, and how that can sometimes hold us back. It very much is a card that talks of, you know, your relationship to the truth, whether that be with another person and their truth, or even just your own truth. It very much is about trickery, and trickery of the mind, and trickery of your own mind, how you are tricking yourself into believing certain things. And in a way that kind of shows in the card itself, because although this card is perceived as quite a negative card, and the chap that's stealing the swords here is seen as being somebody that's doing wrong. He's stealing, it's theft, it's sneakiness, he's doing something that he shouldn't be doing, giving the card a negative kind of vibe. When you look much deeper into the card, he's actually taking the swords away from the army so that they can't fight. And when we look at it that way, we kind of think, well, is he actually doing a good thing? This man's been painted out to be the bad guy, but actually, are his actions actually going to be the result of something good? Does he prevent the war? You know, and so that can be the kind of trickery within the message in the card about how it can be a card of trickery, because you'd think this was a bad card, but when you look deeper into it, maybe it's not. And so it kind of then highlights that whole trickery of the mind, which is really, really clever, really, in a way. So yeah, so that is it for the Seven of Swords, and tomorrow we will be doing the Eight of Swords.